In the first half of the 8th century BCE, the Levant experienced a rare window of prosperity. With the Assyrian Empire in a period of temporary decline, Israel and Judah expanded their borders and agricultural wealth. This organizational chart shows how geopolitical authority across the ancient Near East followed a standard blueprint. A single monarch sat at the absolute top of the hierarchy, acting as an intertwined priest-king who controlled both the state and the temple. Israelite law mandated a constitutional anomaly. The hierarchy is split into two parallel equal nodes, the king and the high priest, both legally subordinated to the overarching authority of Yahweh and the Torah. This division of power was absolute. The king managed the civil and military state, but remained subject to the covenant. The physical execution of temple liturgy was strictly monopolized by the Levite priests, the only group granted the holiness required to enter the sacred space. King Uzziah of Judah inherited this system. Leveraging the regional peace, he spent decades building fortifications, expanding into Philistine territory, and driving the nation to a peak of agricultural output. This bipartite power structure served as the theological axiom holding Judah's identity together. As long as the king respected the boundary between the throne and the altar, the nation remained structurally sound. Decades of absolute military success eventually eroded Uzziah's respect for that boundary. He decided to cross the threshold into the Jerusalem temple himself. Uzziah attempted to usurp the priestly monopoly by personally offering incense on the stone altar, standing immediately in front of the most holy place. For violating the covenant structures of the temple, Uzziah was immediately struck with a skin disease, classified in the texts as leprosy. In the ancient world, this diagnosis required mandatory, permanent isolation. Uzziah's condition instantly removed him from the geopolitical board, stripping him of his ability to carry out royal duties. Confined indefinitely, Uzziah was forced to install his son Jotham as a co-regent to govern the state in his stead, while the king remained in isolation. Uzziah's physical isolation mirrored the theological rupture he caused. By crossing the boundary into the temple, the king was removed from the throne of the state, forcing a transition to a proxy co-regency at the exact moment the region required a single, decisive leader to face a resurgent Assyria. Around 740 BCE, the geopolitical landscape shifts. The Neo-Assyrian Empire aggressively expands, pushing relentlessly southward toward the Levant. This advancing front line posed an immediate existential threat to the neighboring territories of Aram and the Kingdom of Israel. To survive, the northern states attempted a desperate defensive strategy. King Pekah of Israel and King Rezin of Aram formed an anti-Assyrian military alliance. Looking to secure their southern flank, this coalition turned on Judah, applying intense pressure on its new king, Ahaz, to join their rebellion, triggering the Syro-Ephraimite crisis. Rejecting the prophet Oded's counsel to rely on the covenant, Ahaz bypassed his neighbors entirely. He sent envoys directly to Tiglath-Pileser, pleading for Assyrian military protection against the northern coalition. Ahaz traded a manageable regional conflict for total subjugation by a superpower. His tactical panic surrendered Judah's independence. This geopolitical surrender was accompanied by a collapse of the internal religious boundaries that had defined Judah for centuries. The texts record Ahaz committing an act that marks the depth of this shift, making his children pass through the fire. This architectural diagram defines the layout of a Tophet site, clarifying that this act was distinctly different from a live child sacrifice. A Tophet was a dedication and burial ceremony for infants who had already died. The bodies were burned and offered to foreign gods in a desperate plea for political favor and intervention. This syncretism normalized the worship of other deities in Judah. The Baal cult was revived, and Yahwistic temple worship was systematically abandoned. Under Ahaz, the Jerusalem temple reached its absolute nadir. For the chronicler, the lesson is clear. External political compromises directly generate internal theological rot. In the year 722 BCE, Assyrian aggression reached its absolute culmination. A massive imperial army marched on the northern kingdom. Samaria fell. King Hosea's rule was terminated, and the Assyrians executed a brutal siege that ended in the mass deportation of the northern kingdom's elite. The nation of Israel was entirely dissolved. Its lands were carved up and converted into Assyrian administrative provinces. While the Book of Kings spends considerable time detailing and mourning this catastrophe, the chronicler's history is notably silent on the military specifics of the North's destruction. The chronicler ignores the northern tragedy because he views the destruction of Israel not as the end of the story, but as the clearing of a theological roadblock. The elimination of the competing northern power center created a vacuum, shifting all theological and political significance southward to Jerusalem. The catastrophe of 722 provided a clean slate. The fractured, competing identities of the Israelites could now be consolidated into a single, unified narrative. Ahaz's successor, Hezekiah, inherited a degraded, syncretic Judah, but he also inherited a landscape suddenly free of its northern political rivals. Hezekiah seized this geopolitical vacuum to execute a specific mission. He aimed to become a second Solomon, tasked with reuniting the surviving remnant of the nation. His first required action was to repair the foundational breach caused by his grandfather, Uzziah. Hezekiah restored the strict boundaries of the temple, reestablishing the purity and exclusive jurisdiction of the Levitical priesthood. Next, he dismantled the syncretism, severed the foreign alliances, and abolished the Tophet practices. Meanwhile, refugees fleeing south from the destroyed northern kingdom flooded into Judah. This provided Hezekiah with the demographic needed to fulfill the mandate of representing all Israel. By centralizing worship exclusively around the Jerusalem temple, Hezekiah anchored the surviving population back to the original instructions established at the beginning of the era. The chronicler's history argues that even when empires dissolve borders and deport populations, the specific laws and rituals of the temple provide the framework to reassemble a national identity from the ruins.